Hello everyone, welcome to this new video from MoonWatch.fr. Today I am very happy to be able to present you with a selection of 10 watches from Aliexpress. But these watches, they are not homage watches. They are original watches with an interest, whether cosmetic or mechanical. I have put all the links in the description. Feel free to click on them if any of these models appeal to you, and we'll discover them right away. Let's start right away with a bang with the Pierre Paulin purple dial, which I find really beautiful. This watch is notable for having a jumping hour, a complication that is quite rare. It can be found for under 200 euros, and there are several dial colors available. I have two small preferences. I love this salmon one, which I find superb, and of course this purple one, which is incredible. Pierre Paulin is a brand that makes watches, let's say, accessible. They are particularly known for their chronograph. Here they come with a dress watch of great beauty. We continue with a watch that costs less than 60 euros and has a very beautiful frosted dial. I was able to see it in its blue version. This is the Pagani Automatic. A truly casual watch. Here we have something relatively classic. But the dial, it is very, very beautiful. It is really well done. Pagani design, which has accustomed us to many homages, to Rolex, to Tudor, etc. Here, it plays the card, let's say, of discretion, with a small cocktail type watch that goes quite well. The only regret I have about this watch is the date window at 3 o'clock, which I don't find very aesthetic. Then, there are several colors. In some colors, it's more discreet. In others, a little less so. In any case, for 60 bucks, this watch is really very nice. Continue with a real favorite, and I'm on the verge of giving in. By the way, there's a good chance I'll present it to you this year. This watch is the Seagull Army. Seagull, we know them, a manufacturer of movements that make very, very good watches, often with very good value. Quality price ratio, I've already shown you a few of them. Here we have an Army type watch with a nylon strap and a green dial that I find absolutely beautiful, with applied luminescent indices. It's amazing. This watch costs about 250 euros. There's a link in the description, and honestly, I think it's going to be one of my little gems of the year 2025. By the way, let me know in the comments what you think of it. This Seagull Army is a watch that I find really, really beautiful. I would be curious to hear your opinion on it. We continue with a brand that we hear very, very little about. It's Reef Tiger. And yet, it's a brand I've been following for a while, because they are the only ones who have made watches in the style of Linde or Erdelin with very specific cases. Here, I'm offering you a watch for a little over 200 euros that can compete with some Orient child. For example, we have a watch with a style that's a bit neo-vintage, reminiscent of the watches our grandparents used to wear. This one, I love it. I find it really very beautiful. Moreover, the slightly domed glass will create an effect on the dial. Once again, the same regret as with the Pagani, with this date and day window that I don't like at all. I would have loved it so much. Loved this version. Without this window, there are several color variations. Reef Tiger, it's a brand that makes relatively well-finished watches. I emphasize this, which can justify the price. We are dealing with watches that are quite rare, and ultimately it has its little originality. I continue with a Tourbillon watch from Aesop. I mentioned it to you last year, and Olivier from the Euromax channel presented one. I find that for less than 400 euros, a Chinese or Asian tourbillon is still something interesting. It's true that with Chinese tourbillons you encounter a bit of everything, from very bad to good to very good. So far I've always been lucky. The model I prefer is this one, with a goldy case featuring a black dial with the galaxy behind it, which opens up to this Chinese tourbillon movement. I really like it. I find it very elegant. Obviously, the first thing to do with this watch is to remove the strap. But if you put on a good strap or a nice alligator one that will cost almost as much as the watch, I think you'll have something very nice. On the wrist, we continue with a chronograph watch equipped with a caliber that I love, a Seagull ST19 from here. Version 03. This is about this RedStar. And this watch, as soon as I saw them come out now, well, a year and a half ago, I was hooked because I find this dial very beautifully done. We find the red Stalingrad logo at the top. We will find a kind of Geneva stripe on the dial. Here, it's a rather beautiful blue dial. The white subdials stand out relatively well. So it's very readable. In short, I really like it. So yes, we are talking about a budget that starts to sting a bit. 340 euros for this type of watch. It may seem expensive given that you can find Seagulls 1963, for example, around 130 euros. But this watch, it has something. I also really like the shape of the case, the form of the pushers. In short, I think that for the price, we're not being ripped off. And by the way, it's also likely that I'll present it to you this year. Let me know in the comments if you would be interested. There are other dial variations, but I find them less interesting. It's really the blue one that, for me, stands out the most. Once again, let me know in the comments if you agree with me or if you prefer another version. The watch that follows, I stumbled upon it by chance. So Cadisen, it's a Chinese watch brand that makes really low-end watches, I'm telling you right away. But with this model, I feel like the brand is stepping up its game. And above all, it's a model that I find relatively original. Due to the bezel screws, the texture on the bezel and the frame, we have a watch that costs a little less than 130 euros. And I think it might be worth trying it out. If you are a fan of open art and this type of watch, here we have a watch that, to my knowledge, doesn't resemble any other. Maybe I'm wrong. Leave a comment if that's the case. In any case, I find it interesting because it offers a 24-hour display, which will delight some. Personally, it's not something that moves me more than that. But it's really this shape of glasses with the fixing screws, probably just for decoration, that hit the mark. So I find it very, very beautiful. I continue with a brand that I was the first to introduce to the French-speaking watch community. Boderry, a brand that I love. I have presented several versions to you. In fact, I own 4 of them. Versions in bronze, in titanium. And each time I am pleasantly surprised. Boderry, moreover, is moving upmarket and still manages to keep its prices in check. It's important to know that it's a brand that became known by offering watches for less than 100 euros, whereas others were well over 250. The model I'm showing you, I do not own. That's why I chose it. It is the Admiral, a GMT watch with a Seiko NH34, the same one that equips the NRI GMT, for example. And we will see several variations. What is interesting, of course, is the price, because we will be looking at prices between 150 and 300 euros, depending on the different variations. I invite you to take a look because there are really a lot of versions available on several types of straps. Personally, I think I would go for a relatively basic version, maybe the Pepsi, maybe the Coca, I'm not quite sure. In any case, Boderry, no, value on quality price ratio 1, low table. I am convinced, I know that many of you have bought one following my videos. Feel free to comment if you are still satisfied with your watch. I continue with watch from the brand Stalingrad. I have presented several watches from the Stalingrad brand to you. I might actually be the only French YouTuber who has done so. And it's true that I am pleasantly surprised by this brand because the packaging is neat, the watch is neat, and above all, the price is good. Here we have a chronograph that caught my attention simply because it doesn't have a layout with 3 subdials. It has 2 subdials, one at 6 o'clock and one at 9 o'clock. And I found that relatively original. Another detail I really like about this watch is the lume. I find that the lume is quite successful, so there's a good chance it won't last very long, as we know with these watches. Budgets. These are looms that will last maybe 1 or 2 hours, and after that it will be quite complicated. But still, there's a great effort made. This dial layout is incredible. The straps, in addition to Stalingrad, are of excellent quality. Here the nylon, in my opinion, is quite nice. In short, we have a watch with a quartz movement. It must be an Epson, I think I saw. So, something very functional, something that will work relatively well. Shockproof for 150 euros, even less. I think it could be a bargain. If you are looking for a chronograph with an original display. And to finish my little selection, I offer you a completely wacky watch from the brand Berny. Berny is a watch brand, budget, a bit like Cadisen. We are really dealing with generally low-end watches. But on this model, I think there's an upgrade because we have a nice lume application and especially the use of titanium, whether for the case or the bracelet. The lume It's completely crazy, a bit like the dial. This watch reminds me of certain Jacob and Cubitt dials, where there were 4 sub-dials with 4 different times. In short, I've never seen a watch with this type of display. I found it fun, actually. I find it fun. This is a watch for the summer. I think it works great. And the lume, I find it amusing. So there you have it for €80 if you're looking for something in titanium with nice finishes for once, and especially with a bit of lume, quirky, the kind that will catch your friend's attention at a party. Well, this is the opportunity, obviously. We're dealing with a quartz movement. You can't have everything, but after all, why not? We know anyway that it's an affordable brand, a budget brand, and I think this is a watch meant to enjoy a summer season and just have fun. So here is my little selection of 10 watches, budget friendly on Aliexpress, and watches that are not homages, coming to an end as usual. Remember to leave a comment to tell me which watches caught your attention, which watches I forgot to include, and those you would have liked to see in this presentation. I will try to get 2 or 3 of the models I presented to you, those that caught the most attention, so I can provide you with complete and detailed reviews as I usually do. As usual, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss these future reviews, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye, family.